e5. Knight f3. d5. Bishop d3. Knight c6. Castle kingside. Bishop e7. Castle kingside. Knight c3. Bishop f5. a3. Knight takes c3. B takes c3. Knight c6. Rook e1. Rook e8. Bishop f4. D takes c4. Bishop takes c4. Bishop d6. Rook takes e8 check. Queen takes e8. Knight g5. Bishop g6. Bishop takes d6. C takes d6. h4. Queen e7. Queen g4. h6. Knight h3. Queen f6. Rook e1. Bishop f5. Queen f3. King f8. Knight f4. Bishop d7. g3. Rook e8. Rook takes e8 check. Bishop takes e8. Queen e4. g5. H takes g5. Queen takes g5. Bishop d5. Bishop d7. Queen h7. Queen f6. Bishop takes f7. Knight e7. Bishop b3. Bishop f5. Knight h5. Bishop takes h7. Knight takes f6. Bishop g6. Knight g4. King g7. Knight e3. Bishop e4. g4. King f6. King h2. b6. King g3. King g5. Bishop f7. King f6. Bishop c4. King g5. Bishop f3. Bishop g6. f4. Bishop e4. Bishop c4. Bishop c6. Bishop d3. Bishop b7. King h4. Bishop f3. Knight c4. Knight d5. King g3. Bishop d1. Knight takes d6. Knight takes c3. Knight f5. King g6. d5. Bishop a4. d6. Bishop d7. King h4. a5. Knight e3 check. King f7. King h5. b5. King takes e4, e5, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, c6, bishop g5, h6, bishop takes f6, queen takes, knight c3, b5, bishop b3, a5, a3, bishop c5, knight f3, d6, queen d2, bishop e6, bishop takes e6, f takes e6, castle kingside, g5, h3, knight d7, knight h2, h5, g3, king e7, king g2, d5, f3, knight f8, knight e2, knight g6, c3, rook a g8, d4, bishop b6, d takes e5, queen takes e5, knight d4, king d7, rook a e1, h4, queen f2, bishop c7, knight e2, h takes g3, queen takes g3, queen takes g3, knight takes g3, knight f4 check, king h1, rook takes h3, rook g1, rook takes h2 check, king takes h2, rook h8 check, knight h5, rook takes h5 check, king g3, knight h3 check, king g4, rook h4 checkmate. e5, e5. Bishop c4. Knight f6. d3. c6. Bishop g5. h6. Bishop takes f6. Queen takes f6. Knight c3. b5. Bishop b3. a5. a3. Bishop c5. Knight f3. d6. Queen d2. Bishop e6. Bishop takes e6. F takes e6. Castle kingside. g5. h3. Knight d7. Knight h2. h5. g3. King e7. King g2. d5. f3. Knight f8. Knight e2. Knight g6. c3. Rook a g8. d4. Bishop b6. D takes e5. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5, g3, d5, d4, d takes c4, queen a4 check, bishop d7, queen takes c4, bishop c6, d takes c5, bishop d5, queen a4, bishop c6, queen c4, bishop d5, queen c2, e6, bishop g2, bishop e4, queen c4, bishop d5, queen h4, bishop takes c5, knight c3, bishop c6, castle kingside, bishop e7, rook d1, queen a5, bishop d2, knight b d7, g4, h6, queen g3, queen a6, h4, queen c4, bishop f4, queen b4, a3, queen takes b2, knight d4, g5, knight takes c6, g takes f4, queen d3, b takes c6, bishop takes c6, castle kingside, bishop takes a8, knight e5, queen d4, rook takes a8, queen takes e5, rook c8, rook a c1, knight d5, knight takes d5, queen takes e5, knight takes e7 check, king g7, rook takes c8, queen takes e2, rook g8 check, king queen e4 check, king h2, queen c2, g5 check, h takes g5, rook takes g5, queen takes f2 check, knight f6, c4, c5, queen a4 check, bishop d7, queen takes c4, bishop c6, d takes c5, bishop d5, queen a4 check, bishop c6, queen c4, bishop d5, queen c2, e6, bishop g2, bishop e4, queen c4, bishop d5, Queen h4. Bishop takes c5. Knight c3. Bishop c6. Castle kingside. Bishop e7. Rook d1. Queen a5. Bishop d2. Knight b d7, g4. h6. Queen g3. Queen a6. h4. Queen c4. Bishop f4. Queen b4. a3. Queen takes b2. Knight d4. g5. Knight takes c6. G takes f4. Queen d3. B takes c6. Bishop takes c6. Castle kingside. Bishop takes a8. Knight e5. Queen d4. Rook takes a8. Queen takes e5. Rook c8. Rook a c1. Knight d5. Knight takes d5. Queen takes e5. Knight takes e7 check. King g7. Rook takes c8. Queen takes e2. Rook g8 check. King f6. Rook d7. Queen e1 check. King g2. Queen e4 check. King h2. Queen c2. g5 check. H takes g5. Rook takes g5. Queen takes f2 check. d4. D takes c4. Queen a4 check. Bishop d7. Queen takes c4. Bishop c6. D takes c5. Bishop d5. Queen a4. Bishop c6. Queen c4. Bishop d5. Queen c2. e6. Bishop g2. Bishop e4. Queen c4. Bishop d5. Queen h4. Bishop takes c5. Knight c3. Bishop c6. Castle kingside. Bishop e7. Rook d1. Queen a2. Knight b d7, g4. h6. Queen g3. Queen a6. h4. Queen c4. Bishop f4. Queen b4. a3. Queen takes b2. Knight d4. g5. Knight takes c6. G takes f4. Queen d3. B takes c6. Bishop takes c6. Castle kingside. Bishop takes a8. Knight e5. Queen d4. Rook takes a8. Queen takes e5. Rook c8. Rook a c1. Knight d5. Knight takes d5. Queen takes e5. Knight takes e7 check. King g7. Rook takes c8. Queen takes e2. Rook g8 check. King f6. Rook d7. Queen e1 check. King g2. Queen e4 check. King h2. Queen c2. g5 check. H takes g5. Rook takes g5. Queen takes f2 check. D takes c5, bishop d5. Queen a4 check, bishop c6. Queen c4, bishop d5. Queen c2, e6. Bishop g2, bishop e4. Queen c4, bishop d5. Queen h4, bishop takes c5, knight c3, bishop c6. Castle kingside. Bishop e7. Rook d1. Queen a5. Bishop d2. Knight b d7, g4. h6. Queen g3. Queen a6. h4. Queen c4. Bishop f4. Queen b4. a3. Queen takes b2. Knight d4. g5. Knight takes c6. G takes. Queen d3. B takes c6. Bishop takes c6. Castle kingside. Bishop takes a8. Knight e5. Queen d4. Rook. Queen takes e5. Rook c8. Rook a c1. Knight d5. Knight takes d5. Queen takes e5. Knight takes e7 check. King g7. Rook takes c8. Queen takes e2. Rook g8 check. King f6. Rook d7. Queen e1 check. King g2. Queen e4 check. King h2. Queen c2. g5 check. H takes g5. Rook takes g5. Queen takes f2 check. Knight f3. d5. c4. Knight f6. Knight c3. D takes c4. a4. Bishop f5. Knight e5. e6. f3. Bishop b4. Knight takes e4. Queen takes e4, check. Queen e2. Bishop takes d2, check. King takes d2. Queen d5, check. King c2. Knight a6. Knight takes c4, b5. A takes b5. Knight b4, check. King c3. C takes b5. Rook d1. Queen c5. Queen e5. Knight d5, check. Rook takes d5. b4, check. King b3. Queen takes d5. Bishop e2. Castle kingside. Queen takes d5. E takes d5. Knight a5. Rook f e8. Bishop f3. Rook a c8. Rook d1. Rook e3, check. King a4. b3. Rook takes d5. g6. Rook d7. Rook c2. King a3. King g7. Rook takes a7. h5. h3. h4. Rook b7. Rook c5. King b4. Rook f5. Rook c7. g5. Knight takes b3. Rook f4, check. Rook c4. Rook takes c4, check. King takes c4. f5. Knight d4. King f6. b4. Rook e1. b5. King e5. Knight c6, check. King d6. b6. Rook c1, check. King b5. g4. b7. Rook b1, check. Knight b4. King c7. H takes g4. F takes g4. Bishop e4. D5, D4, C6, C4, Knight F6, Knight C3, D takes C4, A4, D4, D5, Bishop F5, D4, Knight E5, C6, E6, Knight F6, C4, F3, Knight C3, F6, Bishop B4, E4, D takes Bishop takes E4, F takes E4, Knight takes E4, Bishop D2, E6, Knight F6, Bishop B4, E4, Bishop D, Queen takes E4, check Queen E2, Bishop takes E4, Knight takes E4, Bishop D, Knight takes E4, Bishop D2, E6, Queen takes E4, check Queen E2, B5, A takes B5, Knight B4, check, King C3, C takes B5, Rook D1, Queen C5, Queen E5, Knight D5, check, Rook takes D5, B4, check, King B3, Queen takes D5, Bishop E2, Castle kingside, Queen takes D5, E takes D5, Knight A5, Rook F E8, Bishop F3, Rook A C8, Rook D1, Rook E3, check, King A4, B3, Rook takes D5, G6, Rook D7, Rook C2, King A3, King G7, Rook takes A7, H5, H3, H4, Rook B7, Rook C5, King B4, Rook F5, Rook C7, G5, Knight takes B3, Rook F4, check, Rook C4, Rook takes C4, check, King takes C4, F5, Knight D4, King F6, B4, Rook E1, B5, King E5, Knight C6, check, King D6, B6, Rook C1, check, King B5, G4, B7, Rook B1, check, Knight B4, King C7, H takes G4, F takes G4, Bishop E4, Rook B1, check, Knight B4, King C7, H takes G4, F takes G4, Bishop E4, Rook B1, check, Knight B4, King C7, H takes G4, F takes G4, Bishop E4. D5, D4, C6, C4, knight F6, knight C3, D takes C4, A4, bishop F5, knight E5, E6, F3, bishop B4, E4, bishop takes E4, F takes E4, knight takes E4, bishop D2, queen takes D4, knight takes E4, queen takes E4, check, queen E2, bishop takes D2, check, king takes D2, queen D5, check, king C2, knight A6, knight takes C4, B5, A takes B5, knight B4, check, king C3, C takes B5, rook D1, queen C5, queen E5, knight D5, check, rook takes D5, B4, check, king B3, queen takes D5, bishop E2, castle kingside, queen takes D5, E takes D5, knight A5, rook F E8, bishop F3, rook A C8, rook D1, rook E3, check, king A4, B3, rook takes D5, G6, rook D7, rook C2, king A3, king G7, rook takes A7, H5, H3, H4, rook B7, rook C5, rook takes A7, H5, H3, H4, rook B7, rook C5, rook takes A7, H5, H3, H4, rook B7, rook C5. D5, D4, C6, knight F6, knight C3, D takes c4, a4. Bishop f5. Knight e5. e6. f3. Bishop b4. e4. Bishop takes e4. F takes e4. Knight takes e4. Bishop d2. Queen takes d4. Knight takes e4. Queen takes e4. Check. Queen e2. Bishop takes d2. Check. King takes d2. Queen d5. Check. King c2. Knight a6. Knight takes c4. b5. A takes b5. Knight b4. Check. King c3. C takes b5. Rook d1. Queen c5. Queen e5. Knight d5. Check. Rook takes d5. b4. Check. King b3. Queen takes d5. Bishop e2. Castle kingside. Queen takes d5. E takes d5. Knight a5. Rook f e8. Bishop f3. Rook a c8. Rook d1. Rook e3. Check. King a4. b3. Rook takes d5. g6. Rook d7. Rook c2. King a3. King g7. Rook takes a7. h5. h3. h4. Rook b7. Rook c5. King b4. Rook f5. Rook c7. g5. Knight takes b3. Rook f4. Check. Rook c4. Rook takes c4. Check. King takes c4. f5. Knight d4. King f6. b4. Rook e1. b5. King e5. Knight c6. Check. King d6. b6. Rook c1. Check. King b5. g4. b7. Rook b1. Check. Knight b4. King c7. H takes g4. F takes g4. Bishop e4. Rook b1. Check. Knight b4. King c7. H takes g4. F takes g4. Bishop e4. Rook b1. Check. Knight b4. King c7. H takes g4. F takes g4. Bishop e4.
Okay, guys. So, sabi nga sa lesson, we'll start by taking a look at the chessboard. The chessboard is made up of 64 squares in a pattern of 8 by 8. Attempting black or alternating black and white, or dark and light in color. When playing a game, the board must always be tuned so there's a light square or a light square in the lower right hand corner. The saying light or right will help to remember. When playing a game, the board must always be tuned so there's a light square or a light square in the lower right hand corner. Saying light. Sabi nga ni Tartakover, it's always better to sacrifice your opponent's men. Tartakover. So, the vertical lines or columns on the chessboards are called files. So, you might remember this by thinking about a vertical file cabinet. Note that each file is called by a letter. We say, for example, this A file, and this is F file. Okay? So here we got rows. Rows on the chessboard are called ranks. You can remember this by, you know, both row and rank. Remember that, row and rank. So we got rows, ranks with the letter R. Siyempre. Note that each rank is called by a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, by ranks, mangyayari niyan, first rank, second rank, third, so on and so forth to the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth rank. Ganun lang po yung pagbabasa sa chess. So, now, alam nyo na and you know the vertical, horizontal lines, rows, and ranks. So, yung each squares niya, or each square na on the board, alam niyo nang basahin. And so, it has its own name. Arrive at putting together its file position. Yung pinagsama mo na tong vertical, horizontal name or rows and ranks. Pag pinagsama mo na. So, ito, sabihin natin si B dito. Yan, napakabilis na mabasahin yan. This is called B5. B5. Basic na basic, ano guys. Ngayon, kapag itinira mo siya, if you use B5 and move it, well, to the other ranks or rank, like for example, here, tatawagin na yung B6. So, sa sa chess, B5 to B6. Yan po. Kung ang pawn lang ang ginamit nyo. Next time na lang yung mga names ng sa chessboard. Example, nandito yung arrow ko. Ano name ng square na to? E8. Okay, you are right. Tama ka dyan. Ngayon, ilalagay ko naman yung cursor ko dito. O, yung square na to, anong name ng square na to? D2. Tama ka dyan. Okay, very good. So, sabi nga, a series of squares going from corner to corner, corner to corner, is called diagonal. Siyempre, alam niyo na yan. Diagonal to. So, yung beginning at ending, for example, beginning at ending ng diagonal, ganyan, sa H1 going to A8, yan, diagonal yan. Okay? Sabihin natin, A1, papunta tayo ngayon sa AH or HA, A1 to H8, diagonal yan. Isa pang example, F1 to A6, diagonal yan. Yan ang ginagamit ng bishop. Sabihin natin ng E1 to A5, yan. Diagonal din yan na pwedeng galawan ng mga bishop. Okay, next tayo. So, merong two distinguish buttons kapag ito nga yung just matter yung gagamitin nyo. Ito yung timer. Two lighted buttons yan. Right of the board. Ayan, will help you distinguish if it is your turn. Kung ikaw na yung gagalaw. So, kung yung nga binago yung settings ng light, edi iba yun. Pag yung color naka-on, pwede ka na mag-game. Ikaw na yung titira. Pag naka-turn off, kalaban ang titira. And the opponent's turn. So yun nga, yung chess ay game ng army of black and the army of white. Yan, parang colonialism lang So, top of the board, kung sino ba ang kaharap mo, depende yan kung EU ay white or EU yung black. Ito ang tanong, the darker pieces are always referred to as black. Lighter pieces always referred to as white. Tandaan niyo yan. Siyempre, black and white lang. Ito na yung mga pieces. Ano yung mga pangalan nila? Tuturo ko lang sa inyo. Ito, mga soldier na to. Isa to. Ang tawag dyan ay rocks. Mukhang castle yan. Kaya minsan tinatawag silang tower. Yan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sila yung towers. Parang sa castle, yung kingdom by kingdom, meron kang castle. So, ito siya. Castle. Castle or tower or rocks. Tatlo. Okay? Ang next natin sa mga for the new players, if you don't know what the meaning of this, as you can see, it is a horse. Correct. Tama kayo dyan. Ito ay kabayo. We call this a horse. Okay. So, katabi or next to the tower or rocks or castle, it is a horse. Yan. Horse. Next to the castle or next to the rocks. Galloping into the castle yan. Sila yung mga knights na tinatawag. Knights of the Templar. The knights or horse. Okay? Next time na natin sabihin ko or tuturo yung movement ng mga pieces, bawat pieces. So, nag-umpisa tayo sa chessboards, colors, rows and ranks, plus diagonal. Ito naman yung mga pieces, chess pieces. Ang tawag dito again ay rook, tower, or yun nga, castle. Ito naman ay horse or knight. Okay? Sana nakikita nyo yung cursor ko. Next tayo. Ang next naman, the center. Ito yung center. Center stand. Dalawa sila dyan. Yung king at queen. Yung king, the king is on the row and rank of letter E. E1. Ang queen ay nasa D1. If you are on the white side. Okay? Sa taas naman, kung ikaw ay nasa black part, yung queen ay nasa 8 and D. Pero, ganun pa rin yan kasi kung ano yung nasa harapan mo, yun ang bilang mo dapat. Basta, ito lang tayo. Mag-focus lang tayo sa white. So, D1, E1. Remember, pag white, nasa D1, ang queen, and the king is always on E1. That's on, in the middle part. Okay? In the center. Remember, yung color, okay? Sa white kayo. Next tayo sa left side and right side of the board. Left side and right side of the board. Ayan. May mga starting positions. Ayan. This part here called the king side. Kasi nandito yung king. So, pakanan, to the right, is your king side. Here naman is the queen side. So, sobrang simple lang, no? Ang bilis. Subukan natin ng isa pa. So, yung bigla lang lumabas to, no? Next to the king yan eh. Next to the king side, next to the king side. Ang tawag dito ay yung mga advisors, bishops. Yan. Ang tawag yan ay bishop. So, to the queen side or queen's left side, mayroon na siyang bishop. So, yung queen at king, meron sila parehong alagad. They both have same guards. So, in the middle part, the right side of the king, we have the bishop. Remember, the bishop trusted advisors yan. And then, the knights. Wow, killer yan. And then, we got the tower or rook. Again, king, bishop, horse, tower, or rook. Huwag kayong maguluhan ha. From the queen side to the left, the same pattern. Meron siyang bishop or advisor. May horse or knight at rook, tower, or castle. Ulitin natin. Let's try again. What is this? Correct. You're right. This is called a rook, tower, or a castle. What about this? Great. That's a horse or a knight. And the next one? Correct again. That's a bishop. Next to the bishop is? That's right, the king. Beside the king, we have the queen. And same thing goes to the other side. Bishop, knight or rook, tower or castle. Oh no, knight or horse, rook and or tower and castle. Yan. Beside the king, we have the queen. And same thing goes to the other side. So finally, we have these whites or blacks on the top of each of the super powerful thingy. Ano, yung mga pieces na to, these pieces are called pawns. Sila yung nauuna lagi sa mga soldier front line, ganyan. They are the pawns. Okay, so we got either black or white pawns. This pawn is the name of this pawn on the chessboard is A2, B2, C2, D2, so on and so forth. All 2. Soldiers of the army. Yan ang tawag sa kanila. Nakatindig lang yan sa harapan ng mga yan. Tawag again, pawns. A,